Hi everybody, I'm Sunny Scobell, and today I'm going to tell you why you could be me in 10 or so years, and why you'd want to be, because being a scientist is the best job in the world. I came from a very small town in Illiopolis, Illinois. It was a town of about 1,000 people. I graduated in a class of 26. From there, I went to college and I got a degree in biology, and I had some great professors that inspired me that I could study animal behavior. I've always loved watching animals. In fact, that's how I decided to become a scientist. From a very early age, I liked catching lizards and snakes, even though my mom didn't like that very much. And I was always interested in watching nature around me. And I thought, what better way to have a job and a career than one that I find fun and exciting and kind of like playing to do my entire life. So after graduation, I decided to go get a master's degree, and I decided to study animal behavior. And once I got there, I met a person who was studying not only animal behavior, but the physiology underlying it. And what that means is she was studying how the internal workings of an organism could influence the behavior you see on the outside. So I started studying the hormones that underlie behavior. I started studying a fish there, a really neat fish, where the males actually get pregnant and the females get to compete over who gets to mate with the male. This is called reversed role behavior, and I wanted to know what kind of hormones mediate this kind of behavior. So I started working on it there, got my master's degree, and then I came to Texas A&M. And here I'm working with Adam Jones, who studies the evolution of mating behavior. And we're working on what genes might actually underlie mating behavior. So we have genetic information in our bodies. Every living organism has the same type of genetic information. It says different things, but it's basically the recipe that makes up who you are and what you do. And although we have a pretty good understanding of how it makes up what you are, we have a very poor understanding of how genes can influence behavior. That's what I hope to accomplish in my PhD, is to understand how genes can influence behavior, and that's what I hope that I can contribute to society, is that maybe with the Human Genome Project that we've got going on, where we're going to understand so much more about humans than we ever had, my little work on fish might contribute to our greater understanding of why we behave the way we do. So, if this hasn't been enough to convince you why you want to be a scientist, let me give you a few more reasons. As a scientist, not only do you get to ponder new questions, you get to research it, you get to do the data collection, and you get to come up with your own answers, but there's a lot of other stuff we do. We go to conferences pretty much every year, and I've been to conferences as close as San Antonio and as far away as Portugal. Just recently I was up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The weather was beautiful and it was actually cool. So as a scientist, you get to travel a lot and meet with other scientists and share ideas and come up with even bigger ideas than you can have on your own. Now, it may seem like doing science is a lot of fun, and it is. It's a lot of fun. It's the best career I could ever come up with. I get to play all day. I get to watch fish. I get to do experiments. I get to do everything I like to do. But it's not always fun and games. It is tough work. You have to stick in there and you have to work hard. I had to study hard when I was in grade school, high school, college, and throughout my master's program. And sometimes it gets really tough, but I've always believed in myself. I have always stuck with it. I've always known I can do this. And those times when it got tough, I have a great family who always believed in me as well. Great friends who were always there to support me, and a really good teacher, a professor of mine back from my undergraduate degree, a biology professor, who always told me I could do it and has always been there for me. So even when the times get tough, stick with it. It's worth it in the end. So I hope you're going to come along with me on a tour of where I work.
And this is where we're here in Texas, collecting pipefish for research. We use this net called the seine, which one person stands on one end and one person stands on the other end, female Gulf pipefish. You can tell the females have no pouch on the tail, and if you look right here on the side, they have silvery stripes on every bony ring of their body. Now that is a secondary sexual characteristic. Just like bright male feathers on a big bird, this is something that tells the males, hey look, I'm a big attractive female. In his pouch. He fertilizes them and then broods them for 2 weeks, and then he gives birth. That is a male Gulf pipefish. We also have in this net a different kind of pipefish. This is a male dusky pipefish. You can see he's bigger, has a little bit different markings, but again, there's that pouch on the underside of the belly. He's got eggs in there from the female of his species that gave them to him. He fertilized them, and he'll give birth in a couple of weeks. Although the trick with this guy is he might actually have eggs from a couple females in there. We wouldn't know unless we did the DNA on him.
So this is where I work. We are here on the campus of Texas A&M in the Biological Sciences Building East, and this is my lab. You can see we've got various parts of scientific equipment around here, and what I do is I do two things right now. I take blood from pipefish and I bring it in here, and I get just the part that contains the hormones out of it. And the other thing I do is I get tissues from fish and I get the genes out of them. How do you get the genes out of them? Well, you get the tissue, you get the DNA, and then you make it multiply many, many times over so you can see it. That's called amplification. And then we've got these machines. Come with me. It's over here. These machines, they don't look like a whole lot, but they're involved in a process called PCR, polymerase chain reaction. And that's what takes tiny, tiny amounts of DNA, like a little spot in a blood spot in a crime scene, and multiplies it hundreds, millions of times until it's really a lot of DNA. And then we come to something like this, and we run it on a gel. It's like Jell-O, pretty much, and it separates out the big pieces of DNA from the small pieces of DNA, and from that we can tell stuff like whose mommy is who and whose daddy is who. Stuff like that goes on in our lab every day. So when I get a fish, I'm ready to process it, I bring it in here, and I can look under this dissecting scope. I can take a fish, I can measure it, I can weigh it, I can get everything I need from the fish. This dissecting scope lets me see the fish really magnified. After that, I preserve the fish in a tube in ethanol, and then I can go back and I can get its DNA at any point in time later in the future. This is our fish room here at the lab at Texas A&M. You can see we've got lots of fish tanks, and we've got lots of pipefish and a few seahorses in here. I'm going to take you around and I'm going to show you each one. Can you see them? These are called blue stripe pipefish. They come from Australia. They live on coral reefs. You can see they're very brightly colored. If you can see right there, that's a male, and he has got a pouch on his tummy. And he is carrying eggs right now, which means that he is pregnant. So the female puts her eggs in his pouch, and he fertilizes them, and he's a good dad, and he carries them until they hatch. And he actually gives birth. So this is called a role-reversed pipefish, a role-reversed animal, where the male takes on most of the parental care, and the female doesn't have to do a whole lot, and she can actually compete. So this is a Gulf pipefish. You can find them right here off the coast of Texas. We go down to the Corpus Christi area, and we pull a seine through the seagrass beds, which are places where you can just walk through about knee-deep, and there's grass that kind of looks like this, and these fish hide out in that grass. Now this is a female. I've been studying female-female competition These females are more ornamented and they are more aggressive when it comes to competition for a mate. So instead of the males doing the competing, the females are doing the competing, and the males actually get to choose their mates.
Go. This is another species that you can find in the Gulf called the dwarf seahorse. And believe it or not, this is a full-grown female seahorse. The dwarf seahorse doesn't get any bigger than this. And again, it's the females that give eggs to the male. She puts her eggs in his pouch. He's pregnant, and then he gives birth. Now the other species that you can find in the Gulf is called Hippocampus erectus, or the line seahorse. So it's about this big, the size of my palm. So this little dwarf seahorse is really a neat seahorse in that it's so tiny, but it's fully adult.
So you may think all I do is come to school and do science, but in fact, I do a lot of other things too. I love to do yoga, I dance, I do jazz dance and partner dancing like salsa, love to take my kayak out on the water and paddle around for a while, and whenever I have some time, I take my dog Madison out to the park and we play fetch.
Hi everyone, we're here at the dog park. This is my dog Madison. I have had her since she was a puppy. She's 4 years old now. She's a black lab. That is a friend's dog that I'm babysitting for. He's a Peruvian hairless. Notice the mohawk. But Madison is my dog and she's my family right now. We're out here just having a good time, enjoying the day. I also have a snake. This is a rosy boa. It's one of the 2 boas that you can find in the United States. And I have a kitty cat. This is Cleopatra. Say hello, Cleo. Cleo! Kitty, kitty, kitty. Good kitty. She is somewhere between a Siamese and a Himalayan. And Cleo is now 9 years old. Come here, Cleo.
I can't wait to meet all of you this year. This is going to be my first time actually interacting with you guys in a public school setting. But before I came to graduate school, I actually worked in 2 different children's zoos. I worked at Miami Metro Zoo down in Miami, Florida, and I worked at Brookfield Zoo in Chicago. And I had a great time interacting with the public, teaching them about animals, and telling them about animal behavior.